hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining the CIO Can My Career in Tech series. We're featuring women in technology, empowering and supporting diversity in tech. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really interested in learning more about you and Tellent. And so could you start off by introducing yourself a little bit? Tell us about Tellent and the Propeller Experience and the work you're really doing to create equitable and diverse workplaces.
These are a few of my favorite things, Lee, to talk about. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. So a little bit about me. My name is Jennifer Hargreaves. People call me Jenny, and I am the founder and CEO of Tellent. Tellent is a diversity recruitment and social impact company helping organizations to attract, source, and hire experienced women talent. And we really exist to create more equal opportunity in the workforce and to accelerate women's progress. I never really thought of myself as having a career in tech until someone pointed out that I own a tech company. So my professional background actually spans 3 continents, and my expertise was in international business development and strategic partnership across government and private agencies. But now I run an online service-based tech company supporting both B2B and B2C customers with expertise now in personal growth and development and recruitment.
Congratulations.
Yeah, a bit of a shift.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. We were just talking about that just before we started recording, and that, I think I also am like you. I didn't anticipate having a career in tech, but there are a lot of us. I mean, I'm one of them who started at the infancy, with cell phones, getting the first cell phone, getting the flip phone, getting the BlackBerry, getting the, getting the iPhone, getting the iPad, and going through this whole journey with technology, and then actually working in the space. It's really interesting and really rewarding, and I think it brings a different lens into how you do your work on a daily basis, especially as a woman coming through that journey, because we do know that in our space, we're still really struggling with equitable and diverse technology spaces for women. So just wanted to go into our second question here, which is, this year IWD focused on the theme of breaking the bias, really to create a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive. And just as mentioning, we know in Canada that gender diversity, especially for women in tech, is really, really low. There's a lot of stats, a lot of research around it. So I wanted to kind of pivot this a bit to just your own career journey and how you've had to deal with bias, around gender and diversity. What are some of the tips, or what are some of the examples of how you believe, especially with your organization, how we can improve inclusivity in our sectors?
To be honestly, I haven't faced overt gender bias in my current role. I work in the IDE&A space with people who are incredibly passionate about creating more equal opportunity. So I haven't faced it so much in Tellent and the work I'm doing over the last 7 years. But with that being said, I did start this whole company because of an experience that I had in the workforce. In one of my roles, I was told twice that this position wouldn't suit someone looking to have children. When I told them I was pregnant, I was made redundant 2 days later. So this is, yeah, it's bonkers. And I appreciate that's quite an extreme case. But this event that happened in my career really caused me to think differently about what is possible and what is available to me. And because of this exact experience that I had, I adopted this new narrative that I couldn't reach my career goals and be a good mom. So for me, it was really about being a good mom and having a career. I thought the workforce was telling me I couldn't do both. And as I looked around to my peers, who are incredibly gifted, talented women coming off their second or maybe third maternity leave, they all had a shifted belief system about what they thought they could be, do, or have. And that's when I said, that's enough. So while I hadn't experienced it in my current role at Tellent, my previous experience caused me to start Tellent.
Wow.
As I said, my experience was related to pregnancy. And I appreciate that that is quite extreme. Like, your gasp is one that I get quite often, of people saying, how does this still happen? But I think we fail to realize in the industry and in the workforce and in our society how these small events, our biases, or even the microaggressions that we come across in the workforce actually impact women's internal belief systems, and how those internal belief systems can potentially limit their own access to career opportunities. If you don't think you are, you aren't. If you don't think you can, you can't. But I promise you, they can, and they are. So I'd say that we still have quite a bit more work to do in the industry, not just in the industry, but in the workforce and in society. And I would also say, in terms of breaking the bias, to just really be aware of the impact your words can have too. Because I don't think for 1 minute that when that was said to me in the workplace, they thought, oh, this is going to change her whole career directory and her belief in herself. Yeah, a lot more work to do, but I'm happy to say that we are seeing changes, and we are working with women through the Propeller Experience to help them change their own narrative so they can get what they want in their career and their life.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's very shocking. You're not the first person I've heard it from. So, I think now we need to really work to ensure that, yeah, the work that you're doing at the Propeller Experience really helps women understand that they do have value. And, it's something in my own career, just in the last few years, I've really shifted my mindset around the value that I bring. And, once you have that mindset, I think then the way you approach your work and approach life just changes dramatically. So I know for myself, having experienced that, but if I had been in your situation, I would have found it very difficult to pick myself up and continue and push myself forward to do what you've done. So congratulations, that's amazing. So I wanted to pivot a little bit about and talk about the Propeller Experience. And I was doing some research a few days ago about women and their careers, and there was a research study from Microsoft that said that since the pandemic began, 1 in 4 over 45-year-old women have seriously considered a career change. So we know about the Great Resignation and all the things that are happening here. But when I look at the Propeller Experience, the first thing, and we just talked about that a few minutes ago, is the mindset piece of the Propeller Experience. So what happens, and how do people shift their mindset to build a career plan? And is there kind of one easy step that starts you on that journey? I'd love to learn more about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how long do you have, Lee? Let's start.
This can be part one in a series.
Okay, well, why don't I just wind it back a little bit, and give you a bit of context around the Propeller Experience, just for some people who might not know what it is or why we started it. So the Propeller Experience was launched. It's a coaching program and collective for professional women who are in career transition. So it was launched during the COVID to repair some of that gender damage that the pandemic had on women's labor force participation. So we really saw this need in the marketplace and wanted to help women whose careers had been impacted. We've all heard of the she session, right? So whether it was through industry-wide layoffs, increased responsibility in the home, or a need to rapidly reskill, we saw women's careers being disproportionately impacted. And what we really wanted to do was help them find or build higher value paid work. So not just taking a job for the sake of taking a job, not taking a job that would pay them less because it was a job, not taking a job that was below their skills and experience because it had the flexibility they needed. So we really wanted to continue to lift women up and change their own personal narratives that they could, yes, and their career. So we could help them find flexibility and be paid well. We could help them find a part-time job using their skills and expertise. We could help them transition into a different career area and not start from scratch again. So for us during the pandemic, what we really wanted to do was to help women, like equip women with a mindset that they could be, do, or have, and to really strengthen that narrative and unlock that potential that they had and the self-belief they had within themselves. So we launched that on March 8th in 2021. So it's been running just over a year and a half, and we've put over 250 women through the program. And since then, it has evolved. So really, we were solving an urgent problem with the impact of the pandemic, but now it's about unlocking women's professional potential and expanding their career opportunities, because this is the beauty of what we've seen through the program is women coming out of here who are reimagining what's possible in their careers, and they now have the self-belief that they can achieve what they want. So we have just seen too many professional women settle, losing track of themselves and what they truly want in their career, and somehow their self-confidence in the process. So the Propeller Experience is, as I said, it's a coaching program, and it's a collective of women that help our learners reconnect with that professional potential and also gain the inner confidence and clarity they need to go after their goals, and unapologetically. So go after their own version of success and not apologize for it. This feeds into our bigger overall social purpose. We are helping to elevate women's individual access to opportunity, but when you start putting 250 women through a program who are elevating their access to opportunity, that's going to create social change, and it's going to lift all boats. What's that saying, Lee? The rising tide lifts all boats. So
Yeah.
we're going to be bringing women up around with it. And really, my mission, I don't go small on anything, is to close the gender pay gap,
Mm,
right? By lifting up a whole generation of women.
yeah.
So that's really what we're that's really what we're doing here, Lee.
It's
And
great.
it's pretty cool, and we're having pretty awesome impact. Oh, and then we help these women get jobs by connecting them to awesome employers and employment opportunities.
Love it. Love it. And
Yeah.
I think when you say the words a collective of women, that really resonates for me. I remember earlier on in my career, in even mid-career, when you talk to another woman about what can you do? And they'd say, build your personal board. I almost went, ooh, because a lot of
Yep.
boards are all men. We know we have an issue of that with that in Canada around women being on boards. There's a lot of organizations supporting that. So I think this idea of a collective of women coming together to support each other really is like a personal, massive, amazing board, 250 women that you can tap into. So just sounds like an amazing project. Thank you so much for starting the project and doing what you're doing. And I hope anyone that's watching this video from our group will, if they are interested, they'll reach out to you and learn how they can become involved. So thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely an amazing and beautiful place, Lee. And just on that collective, to anyone who is watching and thinking about having their own personal board, I'm kind of with you. Like, board to me brings up serious and like one version of success. Like, I'm trying to get into leadership or the CEO, and what we're trying to do instead is say your version of success is not going to look like anybody else's, right? But there are people out there who can support you in reaching your version of success.
Right.
And that's who you surround yourself with, because that's how you problem solve,
Yeah.
right? How can I do this and this? And you
Yeah.
can learn from other people. So, talking about 250 women, that's 250 different networks. That's 250 different sets of experiences. That's 250 different sets of expertise. Now, if that can't help you get to where you want, then what can? If you
Yeah.
think about the resources you have behind you, and they're all showing up with values of abundance and generosity and collaboration. So there's enough love, money, resources to go around, and they want to help each other, which I think goes against how I was raised to believe women treated each other in the workforce, which is there's only enough room for one at the top.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why that whole
Yeah.
personal board thing is a bit scary because it's like, where do I fit in that? For me, this sounds very different, very empowering, which is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Wanted to move to the next question. You and I have had a few calls lately. We've been talking about family and kids and all the stuff that goes on in our lives. And, I think that work-life balance piece of it. So are there 3 actions you could share with anyone who's watching here around what you take in your daily life to really to break the bias? I mean, and the burden that women have really in managing careers, family, all of the stuff that we're doing. Yeah, what are some tips you could provide?
So I would say my own personal tips and how I operate and live my life most authentically for me would be every day I ask myself, what do I want? And I let that drive my choices. So doing this mindset work through the Propeller Experience, it really is about um, getting clear on what it is that you want. Because when you have clarity on what you want, it's easier to go after it. But as soon as you get clarity on what you want, and I'm sure there's people listening in who, even as I said, I ask myself what I want, they're probably thinking, yeah, but nobody can just get what they want, right? Like, I'm too old to get what I want, or I have responsibilities to get what I want, or, I have to be realistic. And that was because we were raised to believe that wanting is bad. But actually, just to let you all in on a little secret, when you get what you want, your happiness actually is the greatest gift you can give your children, your partner, and your employer. So, getting what you want is not a bad thing. And we have to change our mindsets around that. Actually, it's a phenomenal thing and it's better for everybody. The mindset piece that we work through helps people get clear on what it is that they want. And we work through addressing those limiting beliefs and things that come up and helping you get that self belief and confidence to go after what it is that you want. And this is an ongoing journey because what you want is going to change all the time. And that is why I always start with, in my days and in my life, what do I want? right? What do I want? How do I want to show up today in my work? How do I want to show up today with my kids? What do I want to eat for lunch? So all these questions of what do I want? And that helps me get really clear. And it also helps me feel like I have choices, right? So it might be like, well, I don't really want to take out the garbage, Lee, but what do I want more? Stinky garbage or to go and take the garbage out? But it always gives me a choice, right? Makes me feel more in control of my life and of my day. So I would say that's one tip in how I run my personal life and my work life is asking me, asking every day, what is it that you want? And how do I want to show up today? Actually, I'd say that's the major guiding principle. So for women going through in their careers, maybe earlier in their stage, a piece of advice might be in keeping in line with what do I want is give yourself permission to change your mind. I think that you had a degree in fine arts. I came up in business development and I had all my background, all my networks, all my everything was in kind of one sector or one space. So to move out of that when I have all that experience and I've invested all that time and all that money to switch into something else, I feel a bit tied to it and it's okay to change your mind.
Mm.
Right? And it's okay to want something else because life is going to change, your circumstances are going to change, what you want is going to change as well. So be open to new experiences and changing your mind and go easy on yourself as well. Another piece of advice might be, again, don't create your personal board, create your own collective. So whether you come into Tellent or not, surround yourself with people you can learn with, not just from, but also with in your career journey. I find the power and the beauty of it when I see it in my network, so powerful. It is so inspiring, and they're going to be your best chance of keeping yourself true and authentic to you and also helping you move forward in your goals and your journey. Yeah, I'd say those are my two big pieces of advice in terms of breaking the bias from a personal perspective. From a corporate perspective or workforce perspective, I would always challenge employers, colleagues, peers, leaders to stop making assumptions and start asking. Ask what they want. You can get a theme here, right? Like, what do you
Yeah.
want? But really, assumptions I feel like are a major downfall in the workforce. And people made assumptions about what I would want as a pregnant woman in my career, in my work life, in my family life. And I just think so much could have been avoided if we just had a conversation and been asked what we want. Along with that, from a workforce perspective, I would recommend in asking what you want, some women might not know what they want. So there's so many leadership accelerators out there and coaching programs for executive women, which is phenomenal. That assumes women want to become leaders. So first of all, so I would actually, again, support women, maybe even a step earlier in mid-career, because in my experience, I've seen mid-career women, this is where the majority of life changes happen. So whether it's kids, whether it's a medical scare, whether it's already reaching a career goal, there tends to be this shift that I've seen at mid-career that impacts a woman's internal belief system. So if you can offer her coaching or support mid-career to help her get that clarity on what it is that she wants, she's going to be the most loyal, productive, amazing person on your team. So I would say, don't make assumptions, ask what they want, but also give them the support they need to get clear on what it is that they want so they can achieve what it is that they want and become that amazing employee that you need.
That's amazing. I really
Yeah.
appreciate those.
My 2 cents.
No, and I think it's, I think it's the building blocks, right? It's ensuring that, every step in your career, you have that support group around you, of people that you can network with, people you can talk to, and build those blocks around where those blocks might go or turn, or it's so important. And so I really appreciate that, and kind of understanding, yeah, what you need, what you want, knowing that that's also very pliable, that can change. Great tips. I really appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for coming today to speak to us about In My Career in Tech, but also about Tellent and the Propeller Experience. We'll definitely be sharing a link to the site so people can reach out to you and learn more about the project and program, and look forward to hopefully reconnecting in a few months and learning a little bit more about what's been happening and how we can build really diverse and equitable workplaces. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lee, for having me.